Hey there, welcome back. This video is going to cover the last 4 levels of Lesson 11, which is, again, conditionals and booleans. So level 9 brings us to a video titled Conditional Statements. Again, since we're not together in class, I highly recommend you watch all the videos that they give you. When we move on to level 10, it gives us some information about if statements and understanding the programming flow. And so I'll read a little bit of this just so we can kind of get an idea. And it says programs are said to have a flow of execution. You start by executing a line of code, then the next, and so on. So we've kind of seen this as we have worked with creating layers in drawings, is that whichever line of code comes first, then gets maybe covered up by the line that comes after it. And so we start at the top and then the program runs the code based in the order that it's written. And so this just kind of gives us a visual on how to think through it. When we get down here to number 2, when we start using Booleans, we start seeing a kind of a divide in our flowchart in that if something is yes or true, it goes this way. If something is false or no, it goes a different direction, and then it continues on. How if statements work. If statements are the lines of code that you use to change the flow of a program while it's running. You can write code that determines which line of code should run next. So think of this almost as a choose your own adventure. If one thing happens, then you go this direction. If another thing happens, then maybe you go this direction or you don't do anything at all. So at the right is a diagram showing the elements of a basic if statement in JavaScript. There are 2 basic parts to an if statement. The first one is a condition to be evaluated, which is a Boolean expression that evaluates to true or false. So if this condition happens, and then the second part is the code that should be run if the expression was true, is enclosed by curly braces. And so if the car crosses the finish line, then this happens. When you're looking at the blocks, you will see the opening curly brace and the closing curly brace it's talking about. These are what you would be using if you were typing it out in just regular text rather than using the blocks. So when we move on to level 11, we can see that we have the codes from our race car and finish line that we worked with earlier. And this time we're going to add an if statement. And this tells us the Boolean expression used earlier allows us to ask questions. But in order to respond to those questions, we need to use an if statement. If statements usually go inside your draw loop because we want to check them each time the loop runs. So the race car you program wrote earlier is loaded here for you. Add an if statement after you update the position of the car. Move the Boolean expression from the console log statement to the condition of the if statement, and then inside the if statement, add a statement to draw text on the screen to say winner. Okay, so I'm going to increase my workspace a little bit. So I'm going to do the first thing. I'm going to add an if statement after you update the position of the car. So I'm going to come to, let's see, is it in my drawings? Nope, control, there's what it is. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down. I can see here's where I update the car. So I am going to just put myself a little note here. And I'm going to tell this that display the text winner after the car crosses the finish line. Now, you don't have to add comments, but comments definitely can help you keep track of what lines of code you've added. It helps you keep your code organized so that you maybe have layers appearing in the right order. And it can also help others who might be debugging your work and trying to help you figure out maybe what went wrong. So I'm going to add an if statement after I update the position of the car race. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put my if statement. And now I'm going to move the Boolean expression from the console log statement to the condition of the if statement. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my Boolean expression here, and I'm going to put it in the condition for the if statement. And so now I'm going to move the if statement, inside the if statement, add a statement to draw text on the screen that says winner. So I don't need my console log anymore, so I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to come to my drawing and find text and place it under here. And so I want this to say winner. Let's see here. To draw. And then this is going to be, these coordinates are going to be where it's going to draw or write the word winner. So right now, 0, 15 is up here. I think I want it to be somewhere here in the middle. So I'm going to go with 150, 200. 150, 200. I also think that I want my text to be big so that the person playing the game can see that when they win. So I'm going to go with 50 pixels tall. So that's going to take up an entire square. Okay, so let's run my program, see if I did my code right. And there we go. So once my car crossed the finish line, or specifically the X50 or the 50X coordinate, it displayed the word winner. Again, you can play with the text size, the color of the font. Had I decided to leave my console, oops, where am I at? Had I decided to leave my, oops, where did it go? There it is, my console log. I could have also had it give me some kind of message down here just to help me make sure that I was doing the program correctly. So I could have had it tell me true and false like it did in the last one. All right, so that is it for level 11. Hit finish and move on to our last level in this one. Okay, now in this one, it tells us that now that we know how to use if statements, you can do more than just check if an apple reached a scale of 2. You turn it into a pear once it happens. So use the conditional in the draw loop to check whether the fruits.scale is greater than 2. If it is, change the fruits animation to pear. And then it gives us a challenge. Can you also make the fruit stop growing once it turns into a pear? I'm going to take you through the first one and see if you can figure out the second one on your own. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to make it so I can see my instructions. All right, so I'm going to use a conditional loop, a conditional in the draw loop. So let me go to my controls. Okay, there's my update values. I'm going to bring this in here. And so I am going to tell this that if my fruit.scale is greater than 2, it is going to change my sprite. Oops. Okay. It's going to change my sprite to a pear. So I'm just going to come up and look. Let's see. I've got apple is the option right now. Hopefully, if I click down, it's pear. And then I need to change my label so that everything is uniform to fruit. Okay, so if I did this correctly, then once it reaches a scale greater than 2, it will turn into a pear. And I've left my console log here so we can see the true false down here. And I've also left my watch screen here so we can see when it hits that point of being a scale of 2 or more. So as I'm watching my fruit scale, I see it nearing 2, and there it goes, true, and it is now a pear. So now it is up to you to make your fruit stop growing once it turns into a pear. How do you think that you can do that? My guess is that you are probably going to use another conditional. So good luck. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I look forward to seeing your animations.